Hi, I'm Stephanie Laska. I lost 140 pounds and created Dirty Lazy Keto. Thanks for joining me here on the YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy the show. It is season 3 of the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast, and today's big obstacle is how do you respond to those keto non-believers and critics?
If you've done any kind of keto type diet, especially dirty, lazy keto for any length of time, you undoubtedly have heard things like, isn't eating all that fat bad for you? Or artificial sugars will give you cancer, or how can you live without bread? This is just to name a few, right, Stephanie? I mean, they can feel kind of discouraging and frustrating. And then we don't want you to start questioning your own self, like, am I doing the right thing?
Well, I used to feel really alone. And I also used to feel quite embarrassed about the way I was eating. And when I first started, all this about a decade ago, I just really had no one to talk to about keto to begin with. And I know that's really changed. So nowadays, everyone has an opinion. It's on every news station, every magazine you read about. And everyone has got a really strong opinion about keto and dieting in general. So here's the thing. When I hear criticism, or if I start to hear those little haters coming at me, you know what they sound like. Well, for me, they tell me, oh, you're going to get malnutrition because you're not eating toast or whatever. But my strategy, Tamara, is I just feel sorry for them. I think, I think they're super jelly because I'm having mayonnaise and ranch dressing and bacon, and they're starving. They're starving and grumpy. That's why.
That's a good one. And we have 8 other strategies because not all situations are the same and not all people are the same. So we're giving you a variety of strategies to deal with these diet doubters.
Well, we don't want any doubters on deck because you need support, right? Yeah. So these are some fun strategies of how to deal with these crabby people who are poking at you or trying to make you, maybe doubt what you're doing. So I like these are really fun.
Yeah. Or they're just justifying their own way of eating. Like they have to justify that their superior diet or whatever. So there's a lot behind it.
It's complicated, even though we're going to have a little fun with it.
Yeah. Like the first one is my very favorite one.
Mine too. It's so funny.
It's called Nunya.
Nunya. What's a Nunya?
None your business.
None your business.
Yeah.
So if I walk up to you, Tamara, and I say, Tamara, why are you only eating the toppings on your pizza? What are you going to say?
Nunya.
Well, I'm sorry. What?
None your business. It's
none
no
your business.
Yeah, like you don't know anybody anything. Like just because they're questioning you doesn't mean you have to give an answer. You don't have to justify anything you do. It's your life, and just don't feel bad about saying, I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer that, or none your business.
Nunya. I like that. Well, I mean, when I was first starting my journey and starting to lose weight in a way that people would start to pay attention to and notice at work, there was a lot of rumors going around about me, and people were talking behind my back, and they were kind of imagining that I had weight loss surgery. And it really pissed me off because I was working so hard. Not there's anything wrong with people who make that choice, but I hadn't made that choice. And it made me mad that they wouldn't maybe ask me or be honest about it. And when I would tell them, no, I'm making lifestyle changes, or tried to just get out of the conversation altogether, they were still doing the whole gossip thing. And it just, it made me mad, Tamara. So the Nunya thing would have come handy for me. Yeah. I should have used the Nunya.
Some situations you can, although I don't use it that often because I'm generally not that like combative or it's not combative, but more just like confrontational. I'm not that kind of person, but I sure wish I was.
Well, you can still have that Nunya attitude without necessarily saying it. So I don't know. I was really confused and really hurt by a lot of what went on. So I think the Nunya strategy, it can be really helpful as an attitude or a way of dealing with people.
Yeah. And just the mindset that you don't have to justify anything to anyone. It's your life. Right? Yeah.
I just wish I had said, you know what, you guys, it's none of your business. Y'all don't need to be gossiping. Yeah. Back off.
Exactly. Okay. What's number 2, Stephanie?
Well, number 2 is also a little bit fun. We're going to play on the words a little bit here, But the first rule of dirty, lazy keto is don't talk about dirty, lazy keto.
I love that. Like,
so what's that a reference to? What movie is that?
Oh yeah. Fight Club.
There you go.
First rule of Fight Club. And it's like this idea that sometimes we create our own problem by bringing it up or bragging about your diet or talking about it. And I know sometimes we need to talk about it, but be careful about your audience. If it's an audience that's not doing dirty, lazy keto, or who are kind of, those, I don't know, those people who kind of mightier than thou people about eating, that is not don't talk about dirty, lazy keto like that.
Yeah, just don't go there. Just avoid that. These are like the people who are trouble. It could be your mother, your grandmother. It could be your boss at work. It could be your best friend who might be a little jealous. But those people who food and weight is a hot button.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't announce that you're on a diet or don't
talk about what you're eating. Like, oh my gosh, I'm at Chipotle with you. I'm going to get sour cream on my salad and you can't have it on yours. Like, obviously you're inviting trouble by doing that.
Right. Yeah. And don't go criticizing anybody else's diet either, by the way.
That is a really good tip, Tamara, because it's tempting, right? Like you're at lunch with a friend, let's say, and that person's all pissy. Like, I'm so hungry. I'm trying to lose weight for the blah, blah, blah. And I'm not eating lunch today because I'm starving and only eating 500 calories on the soup diet. And you want to jump in and be like, girl, what are you doing? Like, but with those people where weight and, food is a hot button, you can't bring it up because they're just going to get in a fight with you.
Yeah. So don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it. That's the first rule.
Right. Right. Well, number 3 is to not justify your actions. Keep your explanations simple, firm, but polite. And this is one of my ones I do, not just with dieting, but other kinds of criticisms. I'll try to justify, but you know what? You don't have to. I mean, if I'm a vegetarian, I just say I'm a vegetarian because that's, a moral choice for me or whatever choice. You don't have to tell anybody anything beyond that. You don't have to explain it, even why you do it.
So you're saying this is a challenge for you, or this is something you'd like to do? Okay.
I over-explain.
You over-explain.
Well, I'm doing it because of this and because of that and blah, 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 blah. But honestly, that opens yourself up to more criticism. Don't you feel like?
Yeah, it can. I think you're right. Because there are certain people who feel like, oh, I should only get, line caught, organically raised fish, for example. And I'm all, wow, I don't even know where to shop for that. Like, I'm at Walmart and my stuff's usually frozen and probably raised in a farm and terrible for me. So like, I don't know how to argue with that. And I'm like, should I get into that or should I just avoid the topic? It's kind of a tricky subject.
Yeah. For me, I think a good response is, oh, that's not part of my nutritional plan. And you don't even have to tell them what your plan is. You don't even have to tell them, why that's your nutritional plan, but it's just a way to kind of shut it down without having to explain, oh, that's just not part of my eating plan.
See, I could try that, but I'm usually the person who goes, oh yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Isn't that terrible? Like, that's how I shut people down. I'll be like, you're probably right. I probably should buy all, line caught fish. You're probably right. And then they're all, oh, well, what? Like, they can't argue with that. I'm like, you're probably right. And they probably are. That's what I say.
That's kind of a kill them with kindness. Just be agreeable and then walk away with whatever your beliefs are.
Yeah. It's not like I'm maybe agreeing with that. I mean, I hate to get on the fish example, but it could be anything people say about eating too much fat or cutting bread or not eating, sugary junk food. I'll just say, oh yeah, you're probably right. Even if I don't mean it necessarily to their argument, just to walk away, get out of it.
Just to shut it down. Yeah.
Shut it down.
Yeah. You don't always have to fight the fight if you don't want to. And I tend not to. So I tend to over explain. So for me, it's a nice reminder that I can just say, oh, okay, thanks. Yeah. And then go away.
That'll be all.
Yeah. But sometimes, Stephanie, are there times when we want to say something in response? Like we want to give a debate or an argument?
Well, it's tempting in our
Mhm.
minds with number 4 to give those sassy comebacks.
Yeah.
Right. And that for me, this is what I do later. Like in my brain, I
Yeah.
replay the conversation and I come up with really sassy things I should have said. Like,
Yeah.
well, when I was eating junk food all the time, it didn't quite work out for me. Like, I don't know. I try to like come up with funny things.
Yeah.
Do you ever
Yeah.
actually have one to say, or do you just think of that?
Well, I have also said in my mind later, and I never have the funny, sassy comeback. I've done it online, but that can get tricky too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's, things like, who made you the food police?
That'll work.
Or, I didn't realize you had your MD in food nutrition.
Okay. Now that we're talking about this, I'm thinking I've had family say stuff to me, and you know what I have said to them is I go, well, why do you care what I eat? I have said that, and it's a little sassy, but honest. I'm like, why do you care?
Yeah.
I mean, just to be honest, like last night, my husband was giving me a hard time because I wouldn't stop eating gum. And I've shared that I eat a lot of gum. And when I'm stressed, I eat more. Or if I'm wanting to eat sweets, I'll eat more gum. But he was like, why are you eating so much gum? It's like weird. And I'm like, why do you care? Like, why do you care?
Yeah.
And then he's like, he just looked away. And I'm like, seriously, I'm curious. Why I'm not hurting anyone. It's cheap. Why do you care? That's a good one for me.
Yeah. And all of these two have in common is they're asking a question back to them. And that's always a good way to flip it. Put them on the defensive. So no matter what you say, just make them have to defend. I know one time it reminded me, you said, why do you care? And then you said, or I don't know if you said this or it was in your mind or you actually said it, but you said, you didn't seem to care back then when I was eating Twinkies and donuts,
That's true. Yeah. I'm all like, hey, I used to eat a whole bunch of junk food and buckets of popcorn and ice cream and sugary soda. Like no one came to me then and like expressed a lot of concern. Like, why are you telling me now I'm going to die because I'm not having toast?
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's get real. Like, am I really going to miss out on all of life because I'm not having a sandwich with you or rice with my burrito? Yeah. Like, come on. When I was 300 pounds, no one cared that I was eating such junk, but now you're all flipped out because I don't want a tortilla.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Not realistic.
I know. I saw this one come back online, but I don't know if I'd ever say it. But they said, hey, hang on. If only unsolicited opinions paid the bills. I know, that's so sassy. Well,
this is number 4. We're being sassy. I mean, sassy.
Yeah.
Sassy is sassy.
It's unsolicited opinions. Like, why do we feel like, we have to be polite? They weren't polite in offering an unsolicited opinion, right?
That's true. And, and sometimes too, if it's not like online, if it's face-to-face and you can't get out of it, I have found a lot of success when I say, well, my doctor's really proud of me and really impressed with my lab work. So it's working for me, but thank you. And that is a little bit sassy because I'm throwing it in their face with more of a justification, but telling people that my doctor is just crazy about what I'm doing and telling all of his other patients, that really does work.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So sassy responses are totally fun. And I know, and we've got 4 more. So we're halfway through. And I think it's a great place to take a quick break.
Well, as we have shared in the past, we want folks who are following the Dirty Lazy Keto program. We don't want you ever to feel deprived. So one of my favorite parts about Dirty Lazy Keto and all of the fun cookbooks is that you never have to feel hangry or that you're missing out because there's always a low carb substitute. You can either buy or make it yourself. And so in all of the Dirty Lazy Keto cookbooks, there's now 400 total recipes for you to choose from to help you meet and beat any type of craving that you could possibly be having. So the latest and the greatest cookbook is the Dirty Lazy Keto 5-ingredient cookbook, where all of the recipes are put together with just 5 main ingredients or less. So check it out on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever you like to shop for books.
Thank you, Stephanie. Actually, I just looked and we have 9 strategies. So we have 5 more, an extra bonus one in there.
That was a bonus strategy.
I missed it. Okay. Number 5 is called The Proof is in the Pudding.
Anything about pudding, Tamara, is a good strategy for me because I love pudding.
Yeah.
But really the proof, when you have the proof and that's in the pudding, that's where you should focus on, right?
How can they argue with that? I mean, when you say, well, I lost 30 pounds eating this way.
Nanny, nanny, boo, boo.
know.
You know what I mean? Or, and there's a lot of
Exactly.
other conditions that attract people to dirty, lazy keto. People are
Mhm.
saying, hey, you know what? I got rid of my sleep apnea, or I was able to reverse diabetes.
Yeah.
So for me, my blood sugar, at a level that I'm really proud of and
Mhm.
manageable is something that I'm going to stick with. I don't care how I do it.
Yeah. And like me, my acne cleared up. My skin is so much more beautiful. How can you argue with that? Like, oh, don't want to be beautiful.
Everybody's got something. So focus on the evidence, the proof, what's working for you. If you feel justified and want to provide a response, that could be a technique.
You can also do the opposite, which is say, oh, carbs hurt my stomach, which they do after you get on dirty, lazy keto for a while. That kind of junk food or whatever food they're pushing on you, whatever.
Yeah.
That when you can just turn it around and say, the proof is in the pudding that I don't tolerate that very well. Oh, I don't tolerate a carb diet too well.
Or like, if you're trying to give you a piece of cake or something, you say, oh, well, since I cut back on sugar and flour, my knees don't hurt. My joints don't hurt. I know, Tamara, you've shared that in the past about how your knees are just like amazingly pain-free since you cut out all that unnecessary stuff. So that's a really good argument.
I think so too.
You can't argue with that one. They're like,
no.
Oh, really? Oh, your knees stopped hurting? Oh, we'll still eat cake. No one's going to do that.
Exactly. Same. Okay. Number 6 is to kill them with kindness.
I think that's probably the approach I tend to go with because I don't like to argue, and I get really embarrassed when people want to talk about my weight or my size, just in general, from the beginning of my journey to the end. It's embarrassing, and I flush when people go there. So for me, I do try to just kill people with kindness and say, oh, well, thank you for, your concern about me, but I'm fine. And then I just quickly change the subject. Like, oh, what's going on with you? How's work? Tell me about your kids. Or, and I don't know if that's the right way, but it helps me because I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. No, I think and I've heard that in all kinds of, controversial subjects, weight loss or anything in politics. You can just flip it back on them and, how's your health? Thanks for caring about my health. By the way, how is your health? And it just flips it on to them.
I feel like you're still sassy.
I know. Sorry.
I love it. No, I'm not saying sorry. I love that you feel empowered to do that. And I'm kind of jealous because I always wish I could, I mentioned that I always wish I could say these things and I walk away and then I think about like that TV show Veep, where they just say whatever they want. And I love that because I don't do that. I monitor what I'm saying and I get so anxious and nervous and I try to be polite to everyone. And I think that could be part of my struggle with food is that I'm not able or I haven't been able to speak up for myself when people push things on me.
I don't either. I'm a lot more sassy on a podcast than I am in real life.
Heck yeah.
Well, I think that's part of why we're doing this so that you can have something like lined up already, because it is hard to do it spontaneously or in the moment. These things don't come to you. So like, if you're going to someone's house that they can be critical, or you're going to a new situation, just have a few of these kind of in the back of mind.
No, you're right. Because I have certain people that I have to spend time with and I have to prepare myself because I know they're going to go there with the toast. It's a thing. And it comes up and the lack of food and the starving and all this weird concept. Yeah. And for me, I got to be ready, like to pivot with a change of subject or evidence that supports me or whatever my plan is. But I do have to kind of make a, pre-plan what's going to happen.
Yeah.
With certain people.
I know. The one I have to deal with a lot with family is, a little bit won't hurt.
Right.
And that's where the next one, number 7, I think comes in handy, which is to refer to experts. And I say, well, my doctor's worried about my diabetes, or my potential for diabetes.
That's a good one.
So my doctor says, no, I can't even have a little, even though my doctor probably never said that, but I'm going to say that as a, way to refer to some expert.
I like that. Cause then you're kind of taking the pressure off of yourself.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of, drawing a line too.
Yeah.
And it shuts people down. They can't argue with your expert. If you have like a nutritionist or a doctor, specialist, somebody telling you that you have to do something, that's kind of a good
like
pocket argument.
Exactly. So you mentioned a nutritionist, it can be like a trainer. It could be, anybody in your, that's an expert in, draw on that. Or
Yeah.
even, the tests that your experts do, like a lab work. Well, my lab came back, with huge improvements when I cut out all these carbs.
Yeah, I think cholesterol is one that's kind of a neutral topic. It's not so
Yeah.
crazy, but people will see you having like bacon or ranch dressing or red meat, and they're like, wow, you must have high cholesterol because I've heard keto diet causes crazy. Oh, Atkins, and they start going down that road. And then I love to come back with, oh, it's so funny you say that because my cholesterol went down over 100 ticks, and so did my husband's.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder, where do you get your information? Because for me, I kind of just go off of my labs, and then they're all, they have that face all, okay. Yeah, you can't argue with that. The experts are there.
Yeah. Use them.
I also like to do kind of the flip side of experts. Because sometimes experts don't know everything. And I do work in the medical field for my other job. And, let's face it, doctors don't know everything and things change. Like, Tamara, do you remember it wasn't long ago when doctors told pregnant women they should smoke to lose weight while they were pregnant? Do you remember that?
It's crazy. And they told them not to exercise. Don't exercise. You'll kill
they said the baby would fall out. Yeah. That's what they told them. That women should rest all day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy advice.
And smoke. That was not far ago, people. I mean, the medical profession has changed. And just because one person says one thing today doesn't mean it's going to be the same in 5 years or 20 years. So be careful about just taking everything at face value.
Right. Only use the experts to help ward off the critics.
Yeah.
Use them for that.
To your advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And if they throw some thing their doctor said at you, you can go back to, well, doctors used to tell women to not exercise while pregnant. So
there you go. And I always like to point out that doctors take about a semester of nutrition, and that's it in their whole medical training. And that's true.
It is true.
Yeah.
It is true.
Often doctors are not focused on preventative medicine. They're more about diagnosing and treatment. So you're kind of looking at it from two different angles there. And things change. I mean, we don't always know what's going on. We do better, we learn, we do better, we learn. That's the process. It's not all or nothing.
Exactly. And I think the same can be said of research, like, oh, I read research that keto doesn't work. But, first of all, research is statistics. It doesn't mean you're going to mold to every statistic that's out there. We're all different.
True. Yeah.
And they all work differently. And so that's another one. If someone throws in your face about, oh, well, some study said, keto is a terrible diet. And you can say, well, there's other studies that say differently
yes.
Not everyone.
If you want to go down that path, it's like, we're not always saying you have to, but Tamara's right. It's like taking that in stride as an option. I mean, just like recently, the American Academy of Pediatrics changed their whole recommendation about like sugar with pediatric use in kids and how much sugar they should have in their diet, if any. And that's new. And we're all thinking, why is this coming out now? Like, as parents, haven't we all known this for some time? Like, really? Sugar and young children don't go together. So think about that sometimes, about these aha moments that take a while to develop when it comes to the experts. They don't always happen as quickly as you think. Yeah,
that one shocks me because I know, quick story. I know. Well, my daughter was failing to thrive at one point. So she was losing weight as an infant. And so they took her off breastfeeding. They said I wasn't giving her enough nutrition, which was fine, but they put her on a really sugary Pediasure or Pedia, whatever the one that the shakes for the little baby. It was full of sugar, Stephanie. And then guess what? She got a bunch of rotten teeth after that.
Oh, goodness.
But I was like, why are they not caring about sugar? And why isn't there a low sugar option? Anyway, that just reminded me of that. So yeah, experts aren't always on it.
It takes a while. Well, number 8 is kind of a technique I often use, and that is to just brush it off. And, you can laugh it off or just kind of change the subject. But for me, it's worked very well to just keep certain topics even off limits for people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't like to go there. Do you ever do that?
I feel like I'm good at this one.
Me too. This is probably my best patented technique.
Yeah. Avoid an argument. All right. I'm your gal.
Sign me up, girlfriend.
Yeah. Like just make a funny joke of it. Oh yeah, I do dirty, lazy keto. Just make a funny joke about it, or just changing the subject. Oh, how about them Yankees?
How about it? Yeah, and people love to talk about themselves. So as soon as you switch gears and just go right into checking in with them about whatever they're eating or working or volunteer work, changing the subject to them really does work, and it just helps move things away from an issue you might feel sensitive about.
Yeah. And sometimes this is the only strategy that works with really opinionated people. You're not going to change their mind. So I say don't try. Yeah. Change the
Forget about it. Nanya.
Right. Well, what's our last one? Because I think this one's a really, really perfect one to end with.
It is. And number 9, our strategy for folks dealing with those critics and naysayers is to be confident and passionate about your response. Yeah.
The more you come across as hesitant or not confident in your choices, oh my gosh, it just makes people will just attack you even more. But someone who comes in, who's bold, who's like confident, saying this really works for me, it's amazing how people back off.
True. And I think our actions speak louder than words. So, for all of you who feel kind of on the fence, if you are being consistent with your choices when you're going out to lunch with these people or going out to dinner or having holidays with them, and you show up and you're consistent with your choices year after year, week after week, you're always staying strong and making healthy, low carb eating choices and not doing the cheat thing and wavering and, suffering, but being consistent and passionate and strong, then that's when the people start to back off, because then they believe in you and they go, wow, look at her. She's doing it. Look how happy she is and confident and healthy. And she's bragging about her doctor and her lab work. Then that's when people leave you alone.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have to make sure you have to get to that point, be clear on your goals, do your research about the keto diet or whatever diet you're going to go on so that you feel good about it. And then, like you said, just go out there and be consistent. And then it's amazing how that shuts the critics up.
Yeah, they kind of expect it. I mean, I don't think anyone has tried to give me mashed potatoes at a holiday in like 5 years. Because they're like, oh yeah, she eats those weird cauliflower potatoes things, and that's just the thing. It's like, I've been doing this for almost 10 years and no one bothers me anymore. They're like, oh yeah, she brings her own food. Yeah. And I did try it and it was pretty good. Huh. Yeah. And wow, after we all eat, she's not asleep and we all are. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know if they put it together. I don't really care, but I feel really confident and passionate about my choices. And really, that's all that matters. If you believe and you're happy, that's the trick. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious what low carb, I'm curious what ideas you have about how to respond to keto non-believers. Email us at Stephanie@dirtylazyketo.com or leave a comment on YouTube. If your comment is read on the air during season 3, contact Stephanie to receive a prize. Now, before we get to our final hacks, let's take a last break.
Well, if you're struggling to get motivation right now and you're really wanting to learn a little bit more about what the benefits might be that you could share with others, especially those critics or friends or family that are poking at you, I urge you to take a look at Dirty Lazy Keto Get Started and go to page 349. So if you go there specifically, there's this whole wonderful section on the benefits that just go way beyond weight loss. And for me, these are so much more motivating than any number on a scale. And for me, these are the things that have kept me fired up and passionate on a holiday, on a weekend, on a Saturday night, doesn't matter. I think about these reasons, kind of like Tamara was sharing about her knees. So refer back to page 359 of Dirty Lazy Keto Get Started, Losing All the Weight, and that will help you be consistent.
Thank you, Stephanie. So let's wrap it up by sharing our hacks for dealing with diet doubters.
Ooh, those diet doubters. Here's my final hack, folks. I really like to think about these keto critics like a bucket of crabs. And if you've read the Get Started book, you know what I'm talking about, because I have a whole analogy about these people. But their negativity, their criticism, I think about them, they're like these little crabs, and you're trying to crawl out of the bucket and get out of that horrible cycle of sugary carb junk. And they're trying to pull you back in, because crabs don't ever let another crab get away. And it can be really confusing. And I just want to acknowledge the fact that sometimes these crabs that are trying to pull you down are going to be people who love you. And they might possibly be your husband or your wife or your children, or people that care and love you. And it can be very confusing. So it's hard to kick those crabs away as you're trying to pull out and change your life. And I just want you to be ready for that, because sometimes those crabs are very confusing. It's true. Be ready for the confusing crabs.
Well, it's funny. My hack is maybe might explain some of the confusing behavior, because my hack is to always remember it's not about you. It's about them. So you may not be clear on why they're doing it, but just know they're doing it because of some guilt or some insecurity or some unresolved issue that they have. And I think if you know that, it at least when I know that, it calms me down and I don't get so defensive, like, I have to justify everything I do, because it's not about me. It's about them. So keep that in your mind, and that will help you respond to, criticizers in a more calm way.
Oh my gosh. Well said. Well, what's the big takeaway for our listeners today, Tamara?
Well, I would say that starting a healthy diet can be a very positive, a very self-loving act that you think people would support. You're having all these great results, you're feeling better, you got your energy, but we're here to just warn you that there's going to, and you probably already know this, there's going to be naysayers, and there's going to be those crabs, as Stephanie says, they're there. And it's, you can try to pretend they're not, but they are. So, they're going to be out there. So what we're asking you to do is put a little thought into how you might respond, consider one of our strategies, or come up with your own that feels right to you, because we don't want you to get discouraged, feeling unsupported and having negativity or around you. And ultimately, as Stephanie, mentioned, that if you believe in your plan and you have confidence in yourself, then you're going to always keep those naysayers at bay.
Amen, sister. Great.
And are you enjoying the Dirty Lazy Girl podcast? Show your support by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment and subscribe to our channel.